Man, just shut the f up, bro. Oh, sure.
Off?
Gamer subs.
Yourself.
I'm actually disabled. Every time I fart, I smell shit. What the f was that on her Twitter? What the f? Mods ban Mantis for 24 hours.
Ew!
Looks pretty decent.
What the fuck are you eating, you fatty?
Oh,
Dirty boy.
R-U-N. Shut the f up.
Well, I think you should just fucking kill yourself, Quicksilver.
Yourself.
I'm gonna suck you, James. What the actual sucky suck is?
What is that llama?
Can you please moan again,
I'm
please?
spending it on.
Ohio, skibbity riz.
Pussy tight, pussy clean, pussy fresh.
My soundboard. I'll be my soundboard.
Pussy tight,
Now.
pussy tight, pussy clean, pussy fresh. Pussy fresh.
Yeah.
One time saw a penis and I enjoyed it.
Haha. Yes, I am first. You all shall bow before my greatness.
That is the most truest thing you've ever said.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good night, bro.
Okay, what the fuck was that? Shit yourself.
I wanna see the very slaves that no one ever earned.
What the fuck was that?
What are you doing knockoff exactly?
Pussy!
Holy fuck, Stewie, I'm shitting.
I prefer not to watch streamers who shit their pants.
Gonna need a sensu for that one.
Sung Wong Chong, Ching Wong Wong Jong Jing.
Shut up.
I needed to pee for so long.
Then pee. Do it right now in my mouth.
Virus found. 10,000 porn videos found on user's computer. FBI will now investigate your computer. Virus found. Virus found.
Monkey boy peasant, get up and clean my chimney so you can get her weekly ration of bread.
What the fuck? Who did that?
Curious.
Hey chat, you reckon I should just drink that entire thing and just end my life? Hit 1 for yes. Oh, so cute. Aw, what a dumb piece of shit.
I'm jaking it.
Hey, how's your day today? Oh, that was sick. That was awesome. Holy shit.
Just up the road from Clan by the Push Wing, just go get a few.
Is he racist? That's awesome. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. You're fucking dead. You're so dead. It's so weird. Why is that? I'm not gonna get first one. I love cock. Cock and badge. Why, James? Why? Oh, lovely. What'd you fucking say?
I'm having a hard time getting it in.
It's fine. I mean, this is your first time, isn't it?
See your autism struggling every time that comes up.
Yeah, I hate it. It fucking sucks. It looks fucking stupid.
Donkey Kong's vagina.
Racism.
He's Woolworths the fruit autistic.
Okay, that was kind of funny. Hello everybody. How are we today, everybody? My name is 𝐈𝐌𝐏𝐍𝐓, and if you don't know who I am a hook that likes to sniff. If you like what I do here today, hit the like button. I much appreciate it, and welcome to the Sunday night stream. It's a bit of a spontaneous idea of a stream, since I'm starting to kind of like progress of how I want to do everything when it comes to making content and streams. I feel like I just want to play games that whenever I feel like playing it, to be honest. Like, I feel like playing Overwatch. I feel like playing games, you know? So whoever is here, I much appreciate you guys being here. It reminds me of my attempt to play Prison Asterisk. Think I'm going to switch to Overwatch 2 as well. Tetra, if you want to play games, bro, you're more than welcome to join. I'm going to be playing some Overwatch for a bit. I'm down for some comp though, but I'm not sure what position you are, bro. But if you're more than welcome to join me on comp, that'd be pretty cool if you want to join that as well. But yeah, Z, hope you're doing well, Z. I see you there as well, buddy. I hope you're doing well, dude. Hopefully we had a good time with the you know, the games on Overwatch. Speaking of Overwatch, yep. And it's time to make some adjustments here as well. We should play some music in the background. I feel like we have not much music playing right now. Let's go to Overwatch itself here, and let's play some random music right now. Does anyone want to recommend a playlist or like some sort of random music by playing? So I might just do like some random music right here, I'm pretty sure. I never done comp. I'm gonna try out and on the new chair. Oh, sick. Alley Storm. Since you said that, Tetra, I'm going to play that now for you, actually. Hope this looks good, by the way. Hope everything looks okay for you, by the way, chat. It feels nice to play games after all this time, honestly. I recognize this song. Why is this muted? This song, okay. Easy. Not bad. Pretty good, pretty good. Alright. Who is on? If you want to add me, bro, you can if you want to, broski. I like the song. The song's cool. It's very neat. I like how I chat down now. I don't know why. Oh, this song. I forgot about the song. I know there's some people playing right now. I know Meg's playing. I know Pajama's playing. PewDiePie's playing, of course, as well. Hopefully this is okay, hopefully. I forgot the song's cool. There he is. There he is. The man of the hour. I invite you. So you got a new chair. What kind of chair you got, bro? Mexico. Oh my god. Crazy, crazy stuff. Yay. Hey man, how are we? How you going? Hello. Are you there, brother? Let's see if we actually can play comp. Yeah, we can. Oh my god, we can actually. Holy shit. Oh, it's wide match too. Oh god, it's wide match. Who's higher and who's lower? Oh, we got the all rolls, Tetra. Okay, okay, we do all rolls. Okay, okay, all right. I like how daring we are. That's actually so funny. Yeah, sure, let's do it. You'd be low? Nah, brother, you'd be fine. I'm silver 3 or silver 4, so I think you'd be fine. Should be fun though. But I have no clue how long it's gonna take. I don't like the latency. Latency looks a bit of a worry. Tetra, you're in Australia, aren't you, right? I think you are on Australia. Because my latency right now is 200. Oh no, shop deck down. Oh yeah, back to 30. We used to found a game. Fuck you to the wide match. Fuck you, brother. You're in Brisbane? Yeah, exactly, yeah. Oh, Hollywood. Is your thing not working, dude? Yeah, come to the server, bro, and I'll drag you into the call. Yeah, join the server, dude. And we will play games. Alright, I reckon we hog. Let me know when you join and we'll I'll add you, bro. Who are we going to ban? I got being somber apparently. Always gotta ban the same people so you have less likely to get your character banned. Cool song. I feel like I literally forgot we did that. Oh yeah, we're fine, we're fine. There you go. Hey! Hey, how are we? How you going, Tektra? How are you, brother? How the fuck are you, dude? You going well? This song's good. What the hell? This song's sick. I like the beat to it. The music it sounds very, very loud. Yeah. Not sure what happened to your microphone texture, but I cannot hear you, dude. Hey, Anki Poacher, you can't hear me on Discord, really? I'm not sure why, but I'm not sure why, dude. That's really weird. I don't know why. I don't know why, Texture. I don't know why. That's very, very weird. I'm on the call group call, by the way. Hey, Anki Punch, how are you, dude? You going well, dude? Hee. Nah. I have to remember to not get baited out by this guy. There's a Widow. Watch out for Widow. Got a new name every scam. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, dude. If I can blame Z for it, I definitely would blame Z for it. I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry, man. It's all good. It's all good. It's really great, boys. It's fun. Holy bloody hell. Yeah, that's fine, dude. Make sure your microphone settings are in the right area, dude. Watch out for Widow above there. Surely. Nah, they're being sneaky. Ah, Widow's being sneaky. Shithead.
It's Shadid!
Yeah.
Alright, I can carry out this.
It's all good, it's all good. Oh, no Zenny, no Zenny. Watch out for Bastion ult. Rip.
We don't need the commentary there.
Nah, it's all good. Ah, no. Hey, yes. Oh, that's alright, that's fine. That's all good. Good try.
I actually appreciate the commentary. It helps.
Brown, I had no clue what you just said.
I'm under the water.
Please help me. Dude, actually be the meme. He's actually the meme. All good, bro. All good. Oh, we got this. Surely. That's fine.
Hog into this is going to be difficult.
That's alright. That's all good. That's fine. I could change off Hog. Need be. Who should I be?
Up to you.
I have no clue to be.
Zarya, if you're confident, Zarya will go.
No. I'm not confident in any other tank. I'm not even kidding. I've played a lot of tank in my years. I just don't really find them enjoyable. Hey, Ab! How are you, Ab? Welcome to the stream. It's alright. We got this. Watch out for Widow at the very background.
You just watch like a YouTube video like how to climb an Overwatch. They just say be positive.
No, I'm just autistic. I'm not even kidding.
I can tell.
You can tell I'm autistic. What the fuck's wrong with you, dude? You're a prick. Yeah, I can tell you're autistic just from the sound of your voice. Hey, Yuri Valentine, how are you, dude? How you going, bro? Honestly, I'm the same thing, to be honest, honestly. Holy shit, that's a Sigma! That's Sigma! Huge olds. Well done. Can't wait to see you on TikTok and get 3 or 4 views. That's okay, that's okay. It's been a hot minute. How's Overwatch? It's going good. It's going pretty good, actually. It's not bad. It's not bad, actually. It's going good. It's going really nice. It's really fun. It's really fun. Get around, boys. We played well. Get around. I can still try to use Eye for the next game, but if I need to change, I can change.
You play whatever you like, bro.
Okay, I'm gonna play Mercy because our healing is not doing that great. I'm sorry to say, guys.
Aren't we?
I'm kidding. That's okay. That's attack shot is fine. Attack shot is fine, dude. Is it a fucking fishing hat? It is, dude! Do you know the fishing hat? Do you know the fishing hats? Look at that! Look at that! It's my fishing hats! You know why I got this hat in the begin with? Because it has hook and it has worm in it. Big audio worm.
Right on Kings Row, the OG.
And also for the honor of the big audio worm himself. That was so cringe. That was so cringe. I'm killing myself. That was so cringe. This guy has picked. I want it on the same fuck. Yeah, dude, it's so good, eh? It's so good, eh? Watch out for Widow at the top line too, as well.
Still good.
Yeah. Oh god. No. Oh, Jesus. Oh, they're so close, they're so close, they're so close. They're almost dead, almost dead, almost dead, almost dead.
Yeah, tank's nearly dead, tank's nearly dead, tank's nearly dead.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the bastard right behind me too. That's alright, that's alright. It's very good, it's very good. Rip, that's alright. And sees a comment, you're brave. I don't care. Who cares about... I don't care. It's a game. It's not that deep. It is not that deep. That's how I feel. It's not that deep. Driving means nothing. I just would rather play comp because I feel like comp's more fair than quick play. I could be Winton. I can try to be Winton. You're retired? That's fine, dude. That's fine. Greetings!
What happened to your shield?
What happened to my... Wait, what do you mean?
You put it on the bus.
Oh, did I really? I'm so sorry. I did not mean to. Hang on. This time. There we go. Yeah, they just rinsed that shield. That's so funny. Thank you. That's alright. That's all good.
Right, how's that Anna alive?
I'm not too sure. I'll ask them. I'll ask them. Now. We'll find out in a second. Oh, that's alright. It usually isn't that deep, but the side drives was a good idea when I master quit smoking, bro. What? Dude, why would you do it while you're trying to quit smoking? Dude, you egg. You never do that. You're already on the edge already, dude. Welcome back, dude. I
don't know what the fuck is going on right now.
Let's try to be a Roadhog again. Let's see how we go with being Roadhog. It is fine. It's all good. Bastion's right there. Let's watch out for Bastion. Oh, he's right in the corner, so we couldn't hit him. That's crazy. Oh my god. Widow's got ult. Yeah, that's alright, dude. I mean, as long as you're enjoying life now and you're actually doing okay, that's not smoking, I feel. That's what really matters, dude. As long as you're okay. As long as you're okay, I'm happy with that, dude. Ah, so close. Watch out, Widow, right there. No more healing. Nice. That's alright. That's all good. That was good Caesar though. I was just ready for it. Oh, so close to the hook. No way. GG, well played, boys. We all played well. Good job, boys. Those guys were fucking losers. Who cares? We get rinsed in the video game. It is not that deep. It's fine. Oh my god, that's actually so funny. You should bring the Grim Reaper. That should be like the WWE Championship. Alright, Amputate, you want to join us, Amputate? Progression, Hero Ascended. What is this all about? Reinhardt Ascended. Oh, I Ascended in Reinhardt. Really? I barely even played that. Yeah, okay, Augerman. Hey, Casafifi CC. GGC too, bro. GG as well. Hope that was a good game, bro. That was fun as hell. That was very, very fun. It was a pleasure being you last game. Oh, thank you, bro. Oh my god, my fucking self was down there for a second. Yeah, GG's to the games, dude. That's alright, bro. Yeah, honestly, it's just skill-based. It's fine. It's all fun and games. At the end of the day, who gives a fuck about who is better than games and what? As long as we all have a good time and have fun, that is all that matters. If you're not enjoying yourself, get off the game. Oh yeah. The GG's your Bastion. Hey, yeah, you're a streamer too. Hey, what the hell, bro? What do you mean? I'm following you right now, Bastion. Your positioning was insane, by the way, Bastion. You did a great job with your positioning, Bastion. You were so crazy with your positioning, bro. I was trying so hard to get you, but I couldn't get you. It was so funny. He basically lives in a lot with how many people died at my park. Oh, that's so funny, really? The Grim Reaper lives in your park. But GG's to the enemy team, guys. You did very well. You did a very good job annihilating us. Hopefully you guys get some good games afterwards, dude. I'm not sure where Amputate is. Where are you? Are you joining Amputate? What about the Widow? Yeah, your Widow was fucked, bro. Your Widow was crazy, dude. That was great. Yeah, it was funny. It was good. Dude, the actual, my team was struggling to even, like, understand. It was so fucking weird. Where should I chuck my battle net? We played Overwatch before just then, Tetra. We literally played Overwatch before, not Tetra, Amputate. I just had you before. I'm not even kidding. I mean, let's go do this. Just add me on here, bro. Just add me there, bro. Easy. But yeah, if you guys are still there, I just joined up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. But yeah, my teammates were getting so annoyed. They were getting so mad how we're losing. And I'm like, guys, it's fine. Who gives a shit? It is not that deep. And that's how I feel with every game, to be honest. It is not that deep. If you're not enjoying yourself, then get off the game. Yeah, your Bastion was crazy. He was so difficult because he was getting protected so well. And the Zenyatta of how they just activated the Zenyatta ult as soon as we did the Suzuzu. That was really good timing. It was good. It was very, very good, actually. It was very, very nice. Haha, Shani. I'm pretty sure I joined you now, I'm pretty sure, I feel. But yeah, Amputate, if you want to join us in the team chat, you can if you want to, bro. Not a team chat, on the Discord call, if you want to. I'm not sure if Z is keen to play Overwatch. I think they might be going back into thingy. Yeah, oh, thank you. I wonder who recommended it. I wonder who recommended it, bro. I have not received anything from you, by the way, Amputate. Hey, thanks for the follow.
Thanks for the new follow.
That was so quick. That sudden cutout of the thanks to you follow. Thank you for the follow, bro. You don't know that number code? What do you mean, bro? You just copy and paste it. You literally just copy and paste it. You literally go hook sniffer hashtag 1989 on find friend. You go socials, add friend, and you type in hook sniffer, and you go to hashtag 1989. That's literally how you do it. It's right there. It's all good, dude. Yeah, 1989, yes. That was the year I was born in. But yeah, Tetra, did you want to play games with us still, or... By the way, thank you once again. Axie CPP, thank you for the follow. You dumb? No, you're not, bro. You're not dumb, bro. You're not dumb. You're not dumb, bro. You just did not know. Don't beat yourself like that, bro. No need for it. Tetra, you gonna join? Are you joining us, Tetra? And also, do we know if Z's going to be playing, or Z's playing Valorant? Welcome, Tetra. Welcome, Tetra. Negative. It was good, though. Oh, that's alright. That's okay. I'm happy you had a good time, though. I'm happy you had a good time, though, Tetra. As long as you had a good time, that's what matters. Alright, we're keen for some comp. Amputate. I take that as a yes. Deathmatch, let's see how we go, Afterwards, Tetra, I'm not Tetra, oh my god, I keep getting names mixed around. But afterwards, though, we'll definitely try and see how we go with playing Valorant if we want to. Oh, shit, I just realized. I'm so sorry I didn't read your name before. 𝐐𝐍𝐓 with a hat. This is a discontinued hat from Cool Shirts. I'm so sorry about that, dude. How come the thing didn't work? How come my thing didn't work? That's better. That's better. Alright, let's play some comp. Are these the same people? Oh my god, I reckon that's crazy, dude. Holy shit, no way. Well, join team chat, bro. Ginger Ninja. Yeah, bro. Hey, did you guys...
Oh, yeah, dude.
Hey, man. Did you hear about the ghost Pikachu in the new Ditto game?
No,
they added another version of Pikachu in the fucking goddamn franchise. It's crazy. What happened to Mimikyu? They did a whole fucking thing about Mimikyu because they want to be like Pikachu. That would have been perfect for Mimikyu instead of Ghost Pikachu. Literally kicking Mimikyu out of the whole sideline. Actually, so bullshit. That's okay. We have a different.
Blastoise, dude. What about Blastoise? What happened with it? So fucking...
Blastoise became a $600 Lego piece that everyone decided to fucking touch because they're stupid, and they're part of the problem why Lego's so expensive. Companies take advantage of FOMO. But I agree though. What happened to Mega Blastoise? I love Gigantamax Blastoise though. He looks fucking sick. Like a giant battle station. It's so cool. Best viewers. Oh, nice, bro. Good luck, have fun, guys. Hope we all play well.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Bruh! Sniff the hook. No!
God.
Hey Z, welcome Z. We're playing with the guy. Hook to her. Hook to her.
Oh my. Reset.
That's alright. Lucio. Genji, sorry, Genji. How the fuck did he get away with that? They got a Ramatra. That's alright. That's really good. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it, Z. I had some people coming in from the last game. We got like annihilated from the last game, and they joined the stream. If you go up to the chat before, it was so funny. Oh shit, Z. Z, I'm playing a comp game, Z. Tetra, it is a video game. It is not that deep. No need to apologize, dude. It's okay. I don't care we lost the game. Unless you guys care about losing the game. Yay. If need be, I can change off Hog, just in case. I drank the grog already, bro. I drank the grog. The grog's gone. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Damn. That's right. No way, hit my hook, bro. No way. Oh, shit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I might back up a bit, maybe. Oh, let's just back off, back off, back off, back off. No, ramp! Ooh, nah, that's alright. I'll use my ult and we'll change. Not gonna lie. Thank you. No way. No way, I missed the hook! Such a small miss of that, too.
That fucking Vendetta is insane. Like, the character.
It's just a player who plays the character. All characters in this game can be overpowered. It depends who the player. Oh, okay, that's better. Watch out for Genji behind. No. That's alright. Okay, next round, I'm more than likely would probably maybe be Reinhardt, maybe? Just the Ram. Oh no, that Ram's Reinhardt's counter, that's right. I don't know who to be.
Just Mauga and big fucking dude, so just blah blah blah.
I have no clue how to play Mauga, but I'll try my very best to play him.
Shoot him, jump on him.
Once again, no clue how that works. I know you have to use both the exact same time and aim for headshots. It's like critical hit on left or right clicker, and it puts them on fire. But I don't know. That's all I can really remember.
Left click will set them on fire. Right click is auto crits if they're on fire.
Cool. Wait, if it crits them, does that affect the people, like you guys around me, if you shoot the same target? Or is this me and that's it?
No, it's only you.
Okay, that's alright. Alright, all good. We'll see how we go. As long as we try our very best, that's all that matters. Mercy, mercy. Might back off it, maybe. Genji behind, Genji behind. Almost died there, holy shit, almost died. They're all here. Holy shit. That's alright. That's all good. I don't think Ram's working here. Not Ram, Malga.
Yeah, I forgot that they're two sword people.
That's fine. That's all good. I'll try again with Malga, see how we go. Bastion, no! Bastion, no! Venture's almost dead. They can focus on Venture? Nah, that's fine. No, Bastion got raised. I mean, Genji got raised, sorry. What the fuck was that? What was that? Where are they? Oh, hello. Whoop. Whoop. That's alright. I got ult. Next push.
Same, bro. Just get them all. Thank you.
No! Right. I'm gonna try and get a point and ult. That's alright. They're all there anyway, so it's fine. Maybe not Malga. Queen, maybe. Shit. These fucking chords. Whoop. GG's, boys. Well played. Well played well. I got play the game. That's crazy. I got play the game. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so funny. Nice. Oh, that hurts. That hurts, bro. That hurts, bro. Oh, that hurts. That's so funny. And also Sega. Alright. Anybody else joining, or that's roughly it? Let's drag Z right. Rawr. Hey boys, how you going? How are we? Hello? Hello? Is there a glitch? Huh. Hello? Why can't I hear anything? Huh. Are we playing comp? Hey guys, can you guys hear me? Oh, really? Oh, like on the game?
We can't hear you on Discord.
Oh, why is that? That's weird. The hell?
I don't know.
That's very weird. Huh. Is it because I got my this call on private? Is that the reason why? Huh.
I don't think it's got anything to do with the Discord call. It might just be your audio why stuff messing up.
Maybe, I mean, it's not giving me an option to change my output. Hello? No. 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 Hello? No, I still can't hear you guys. Still can't hear you guys, no. Huh. I have no clue how this works. Is it like that or... Hello? It's not giving me options for import. That's so weird. I don't know what I'm looking at here.
I think it's probably because it's suddenly changed to the VC channel.
I have no clue. Show more. Razor, yeah. Oh, Amputate, it's not you, bro, it's me. It's not you, Amputate, it's okay. Microphone. I did V4 and it's right there. And default, yeah. You knew Spin Jutsu? That's awesome, dude. Honestly, the way I feel, I reckon just play the game, to be honest. It's fine, just play. We can't play in 4 queues, that's fine. Alright, we'll do all thingies. No point in trying to fix it. If we can hear each other in the game, then might as well just play in the game. Must be wasting our time if we're just sitting here trying to fix the audio. I mean, if I could try and see if we are trying to do gaming maybe and see if that makes any difference. Hello? Oh, it's just connecting. Sure, yeah. I just closed Discord and nothing happened. Hang on, I should probably disconnect the call. Turn off Discord. That's what's happening to me? Oh, so it's not me, it's actually Discord that's messing up. I think Discord server's being stupid. Don't give them too much hard time. They're like a really small indie company, dude. Still connecting. Yeah, I can't connect at all. I guess we're just talking the game mode and it's fine, I feel. I could just do that, to be honest. Just play on here and don't bother about the Discord. As long as I hear you guys and talk to you guys, it's fine. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm still connecting. Oh, Rustman left the game. He disconnected the game. You're good, dude? But he can't hit me anyway. Rustman left the call. No, oh, is that this mythic skin for Doomfist? I've never seen that in the game mode. That looks cool. Amputate, can you like stand still? I want to see your skin, bro. That looks cool. Where are you, Amputate? Where are you? No. We're trying to get the Sombra. Oh. Oh, you need. Oh, that's crazy. Whoa. Nice, nice. Rasmus, start playing Overwatch. So, we just literally played a game without Rasmus. I didn't even think to leave the game. I'm so sorry. We'll go team chat.
Meow meow.
Meow meow. Well, I reckon it's playing the game, I reckon.
Meow meow meow.
Might be easier. That's a very bizarre thing for this score to do. I swear to God, if I get tank again, I'll be so annoyed.
Do you want me to queue just tank?
No. It's just a gamble. No, because what makes it funny is because I queued for all 3 roles and I'm still getting tank. It's just funny. Let's be Haunted Doll. Good luck, have fun! Hope we all play well. What kind of music is playing right now? Get your ass tail out of the goddamn text. That's funny. Alright. I feel like this should be fine now, I feel. Doomfist and Genji. Whoa! That was a bit nice lag right there. Ah! No, you fuckwit. Yeah, for sure. Oh, nice. Did not know that. No. Doom. 2 around Doomfist. You egg. Doomfist just killed his co-workers. Uh-oh. Where are they? Oh my God, Genji. How's it sound? Does it sound okay, by the way, Tectra? Like the game mode sounds okay as well as the music? Oh, Widow right there. Oh, Pink Panther started playing Overwatch. I got a history of that man. In a good way, he's really cool. Oh, nice dude, I'm glad. Oh my God. Eve Online? What's Eve? I don't understand what that is, sorry. Watch out, Genji ult. No, Chad. You're a fat fucking Chad. Yay! Where'd you come from, Doomfist? Where Doomfist came from? Fuck you. Oh, you fuckwit, bro. No, that's right. I keep forgetting Zenya's my what do you call it? My counter. Alright, I'm on my way back now. If we gotta hold this on the first part. Oh, watch out for the ult. Watch out for the ult. Oh my God. Where'd they go? Oh, they... Oh, I felt the connection. I felt the connection with the Widow. You fuckwit. Where the fuck are you, bro? I want to see this. Oh, that's so bad. That's so funny. No! Once again disconnected. Oh, he disconnected. Oh my God. Oh my God. Bit. No, amputate, no. Oh, so close on the hook on the Widow. Watch out for Genji up. Oh, that's alright. Oh my god, I got hit by Widow's poison. Oh my god. No, Harold. Remembers Harold the giraffe. Remembers that character. GG's boys, well played. We all played well. Nice, Yuru. Oh my god. Oh my god, Z! I'm caught on 4K and everything. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, it's so good. Can I do like a hard reset on Discord? That's the only thing I can think of that might be able to try and fix it, maybe.
Fuck my Chungus life.
That was so funny.
Discord, bro.
No, I'm just trying to like close it and then see if it can work, maybe.
Are you trying to... What?
Like if I open Discord and force close it, maybe it might reset the software.
Yeah,
This Discord... Beg your pardon, sorry?
It's a you issue, not us.
I think it's you guys' issues as well. I don't know, I just feel like it is. Yo, we're here. I think everyone in Discord will have to disconnect from audio. No, I fixed it. It was my issue. It's all good. Z, is it really? Oh shit, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Easy. No, I want the Junkertown City. That's all good.
Frick off.
No way! Oh, I can't afford to get a junk screen.
I was the only person who voted for Hannah or whatever.
No way! I'm so sorry for your loss, dude. Yo, finally! It didn't. Oh my god, you're purple. Hey, I'm gonna be. Hey, GG's Quirky Venture. GG's. Let's be Anna. Let's be Anna. Let's be Anna.
Get a single game on Rocket Cat. You're blocked.
GG's Quirky Vent Nurse. GG's. That was fun last game. That was very fun. I hope you had a good time as well. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to. Hope you're doing well.
Hope the lesbians come for you and then they kill you.
Also, you had a last game.
Oh?
Yeah, be like that.
What?
I don't know. You had a last game, so like.
Pardon?
Last game.
I'm gonna treat you like this when Jetpack Cat comes out. Good luck, Raspin. I'm gonna be so petty and I don't care.
It's okay. It's not that deep.
No, it is that deep.
Yes,
You
it's
don't
not.
understand.
Good luck. Have fun. Hope we all play well. No. So how long have you been playing Doomfist for, Amputate?
A while ago, like 200 hours.
Oh, that's alright. That's pretty good. 200 hours. That's a commitment, bro. Nice, dude.
But, I started playing him, I think, like a couple months before Godfist meta.
Before what, sorry?
Godfist meta, which was back in like season 2 of Overwatch 2, I think.
Every time I think of anything with God or Fist, I keep thinking of Charlie's, what do you call it, comic book he does. God Slap or some shit. I play console, Val, or OC. I play Unmantis. I play on PC. And I'm on BC, OCE? OCE, yeah, OCE. Welcome, first time chatter as well. I'm Mantus. Hope you're doing well. Whee! Alright, I'm gonna come back and try and heal.
Bro, I just get hard focus whenever I drop into the back line.
It be like that, unfortunately. Hanzo.
I'm literally gonna beat someone up in real life.
Honestly, that's kind of based. Don't let the Doomfist get fist. No, of course you ult, you piece of shit. Oh, that's crazy. No way. Ah, I died. That's alright. How do you like the mythic skins for Doomfist? MP Palm.
I love it.
You like it? That's good. I'm glad.
It's not my favorite skin because that's reserved for Thunder, but it is definitely up there.
It's a pretty skin. I don't mind it. I just wish they added a bit more cosmetics to it, I feel. But what can I say? I'm not a 3D rendering printer digital artist, so I can't say any input at all. Yo, they can't heal, they can't heal, they can't heal. Nah! They can't heal! What, brother? Ah! Jesus Christ! I'm more of a DPS Ana than a healer Ana.
Yeah.
I'm 104 on healing. I got ult very soon. No, come on, I'm here. Whoa, what's happening? Holy shit. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Rushbin, we kind of cooked.
Good job. That's alright.
It's just you amp you.
I got nano. That's okay. Good round.
Rushbin, that was a good combo.
I didn't know what happened. It was so confusing.
Rushbin died, then resurrected himself with gold, I think. And then I ulted as well.
Oh, nice.
Did you go Rushbin?
Yeah.
It's fine. It's the effort that's there. That's what matters. Who should I be? Let's be Juno. Fortnite.
Guys, I need healing. Wait, Hook Sniffer, when the fuck were you on Juno?
Oh, I just felt playing Juno. I'm just playing, to be honest. That did nothing at all. Rice. How come it's so hard to like aim PvP people? What? Jesus Christ. What's happening? Oh my god, I got slammed.
This poor Life Weaver.
Sorry, Life Wheeler. Hopefully you're having a okay time. Watch out for Junkrat with his traps, by the way. What? Side bow. Oh my god, behind.
Bro, I just get focused. I'm trying.
What's the new character's name again?
I don't know. Or something like that.
Aran? Yeah, that's alright. I need to learn these new names very soon. Holy shit. Holy space.
What? Look, I can't, like... I can't push in at all, I just insta-die.
It's
I don't
more...
know if that's because I'm playing Vendetta or...
No clue. A lot of things can be the reason, but not too sure.
He
But
just ult? I'm scared.
not too sure. Ah. What? Nice. Oh, don't, come on, no! I tried healing you, Z. I'm so sorry, dude. No, no! Life Wheel left me! Life Wheel was like, nope. Oh my god. Okay, surely we can come on point and take over. Ah, that's alright. Oh, nice, nice. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No!
Bro, these people are so locked in.
It's quick play, unfortunately. Maybe. Nice. Ah, that's alright. Good try, good try. Oh, shoot down, let's go. Oh, how come we went to where? How's the hyper brain even work? GG, well played. GG's, boys, GG's.
This poor life.
GG, wife wheeler. Sorry for the loss, bro.
Huh?
Like, look at this. Like, what's even happening right here? That was so confusing. What was going on?
Bless you.
I got 2 kills. 620.
Charco!
What's up, guys?
Hey, Choco, how are you, bro? How you going, man? How are
Good.
you going?
I'll
Good.
be watching the next part of Dingo.
Dingo.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Fallout. Oh,
Yes, Steady Blood.
I do not know.
I got gold. Oh, gold Lucio. That's a cool skin. I got gold in a regular loot box. How you been going, Charco? How's life been going for you?
This, that, and the other.
That's alright, that's alright. And how's the car?
I'm feeling homophobic right now.
It'd be like that. Are we all good for another game, guys? Or what's happening?
How's the K-Truck?
Is that what it's called?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I'll put on the bull bar today.
Fuck yeah, cunt.
Nice, nice. Are we playing another game, guys?
Oh.
What?
It will.
Kill you again, I'll give you a legendary.
Guys, who wants to fight?
We can fight after we find out what we're doing. Are we playing another game or are we going to Valorant?
I want to play another game. I need to.
Oh, sure.
On my beat.
Oh, good. Hey, Charcoal, do you have Overwatch installed or did you get rid of it?
I don't even know if it's updated.
That's alright. If you can find out if it's updated, you can join us if you want to, bro. Because we got one more spot left.
I'm alright.
Oh, good, man. All good.
How many episodes are left of Fallout? Or are we on the last one? Or
Pretty sure there's 8 episodes of season 2 of Fallout, I think. Or 7.
no? Maybe 6.
Maybe, actually, no, I think it's 5, I think.
Maybe 6 or 7. I don't know.
Wait, what if they did 6.5? Like on the brick of it.
Who the fuck can't?
Let's be Tracer.
Oh, nice try, you bitch.
Whee! So sorry, brother. Oh my god, okay. What? Who was that? I heard that. What? What? Oh. The ash. Oh, good job. That was funny. That was so funny. No, don't hack me, brother. I glitched off the edge.
Is that who it? Nuh-uh. Fuck off.
Oh my god. Oh, Amputate's playing Roadhog.
Hit me. I hate you so much.
Oh, I saw your shadow, Z. Oh, dude, I was gonna hunt you down, bro.
Ain't no one hunting me down. I'm the goat at Sombra.
Nice. Honestly, Sombra is very fun. I used to play a lot of Sombra back in Overwatch 1 on Xbone. I did 50 hours on Sombra and 50 hours on Ashe, both.
I used to play her a lot in Overwatch 1 too. It kind of makes me sad because I spent so much time perfecting her TP, where if I didn't have a TP set up and I threw one, I could make it like go, even if it was in the zone of an ultimate, I could make it go off just in, like I could use the iframes.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I feel that.
It annoyed me so bad because I don't even know if you can do that anymore.
I don't think you can. I mean, we can find out. I can play Sombra now and see how we go. Ninja Sombra.
You gotta like perfectly time it. It's so annoying.
Yeah, that's alright though.
And the longer it is, the more iframes there are. So there's a set amount of iframes now since it's only a set.
Dude, it sounded like you said iPhone. I don't know why.
I think you should play Venture.
So also
God, I love that skin.
the teleportation, by the way, Z. There's no transmitter back, by the way. It's just you throw it and you teleport to it. It's like an ender pearl.
I know.
Oh, okay. And you can only be invisible for such a small time as well.
Yeah, they nerfed my poor girl Sombra.
That's probably.
Mercy mythic skin.
Oh, nice. Which one?
The gun.
Oh, what the hell? Can I not hack? Oh. Hack is on cooldown? Ah! It knocked me out of my thing, bro!
Yes, that bitch right spin. Get her too!
No, what the hell? Jesus.
I'm on you.
Nice. Oh my god, I got smacked. Oh, thank you. I may not survive this, but might just fuck off, actually. Oh my, that's alright.
Who counter swapped?
Fire.
What is Dinky?
Seems like an easily take on a fire.
You just need to stop flying.
I've done it.
It's okay, I'll pocket so you can counter.
Lemeow.
I'd be more scared to get her infinite field still.
Wee. Whoa.
I'm playing farmer stage.
Whoa.
Playing Farm Mercy, still can't.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
just fucking saved my life. Thank you.
Whoa. I just realized. Nice, thank you, thank you.
Sorry, I had to res hook.
Yeah, sorry about that. Good job, Ryan. That was good. You did good right there. Oh no! I was gonna help you there, Rice. I'm so sorry. I was gonna finish that person off so you didn't die. I'm so sorry. Ah. What? No, bro. Damn, their healing's crazy. I got ult, by the way.
My Mercy res is a bit better.
I might use my ult afterwards, maybe. Ah! No, I can't. That's alright.
Yes, all.
Oh, wow. Awesome kill.
Oh, nice, dude.
Wait, I can make my way over to you. You know what? I don't give a shit.
I got ult, by the way, too.
I'm coming, bitch.
Yo, welcome back.
Hi.
Yo, I got ult. No way! No, I'm so sorry, dude. Shit, Dash is almost dead. Dash is dead. Cool, 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 cool. Pharmacy's coming back, by the way, so be ready for that. Thank you. Yeah, Farah's down now. Wow, that up here. Oh my god, I got knocked around. Holy shit.
I saw that. What the fuck?
That's alright, I don't care. Farah's almost dead. Mercy's in the building, by the way. No, that's alright, that's fine.
Bro, these people are like on my ass, bro. I can't do shit.
That's okay.
And now I have range.
What does that mean?
That means I've got range.
He has range, yeah. It's like ranch, but it's like a different terminology for it. And it's called range instead of ranch. It's an... Honestly?
I haven't been eating sauce because I'm trying to lose weight, and it's like the one saddening thing about life.
You limited. Oh, nice.
Oh my god, Rice.
Nice, good job. Huge. Nice. Nice, good job.
I low-key feel like this is a mercy, dear. Just gotta give myself. Why? Whoa, they're hard focusing you.
Bar is hacked.
That's right.
Oh my god. I don't know how to escape this, Sombra.
Your TV.
Yeah, no, just in general.
I need to run out instead of jump in.
What do you mean? Oh damn. Look, we have no tank.
You got no mercy?
Nice.
Dead, no team.
Cool, 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 cool. Push, 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 push.
I am going crazy.
Nice. They got May, by the way. I got ult whenever. Where you want to push in. Nice, nice.
Watch that, Messi.
Bam! Go, go, go! Okay. Nice, nice. Round March is almost dead. May, see it? May. Oh, wow, that May escaped. May is almost dead. No search of Farah. Farah's, oh yeah, that's fine. Farah's half. Do you do the spot building next to us? Nice. GG's.
Holy shit, that was a W res.
I hit the rock. I hit the rock. That's so funny.
Okay, almost there.
Yeah, that's alright.
That's far, bro.
Right spin.
B. It's alright.
I can get that res. Oh.
They're hard focusing me. This is a little funny.
Oh, thank you. You didn't have to res me, dude. I could have came back, okay. Nice, nice.
Oh my god, fucking pop off.
GG, well played. We all played well.
21 assists.
Why do I have more kills than my DPS?
That was good. That was fun. That was fucking hard. Sombra is so hard to play.
Good shit.
Hey, good job, Acupuncture. Nice, dude. Good job. I'll get the hang of it.
Oh damn, you got this.
Just ignore them, dude. We know it's not true.
Oh no, I was toxic that whole game.
It's only quick play, not that deep. It's quick for a reason.
I stay toxic.
Okay, that's all good, bro. Play however you want to play. Are we all good to play another game?
Hard carried that. Y'all can dig. Yeah, I'm just a go.
PewDiePie. Oh, Ruspin, stop playing Overwatch. You all good?
Oh, I see how
Wait, what's the reason? I didn't hear, sorry.
it's because he doesn't like queuing with gay people.
How does he know who told him? Is it you told him that I came out?
No.
Bro,
Why would I tell him that?
bro left the call as well. What the hell? At least Charcoal's here.
I'll let you know in a second, I reckon.
Wait, to know that I'm gay? I was like, what do you mean? That was just too well timed. I don't know, I still feel bad when playing games. Oh, hello. Sorry, man. Sorry, dude. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I was with the Bastion, dickhead. Damn it, anti-Pagan. Yeah, I feel bad when playing games still. I feel like I'm too casual.
It's literally unrated. There was nothing you need to be worried.
No, like any game, like comp or anything like that. I cannot be competitive. I just try my best. I don't.
But you need to be competitive.
I don't know how to. I don't know how to. I've lost the ability to like.
But the thing is, you didn't have to. I don't know why are you making these points? Are you right?
Oh no, this is in general. Like it's been like this for a long time now. This is I started to like not care about winning or losing. I feel like I can't be competitive.
But what made you bring that thought?
People get frustrated. I feel when we're playing games.
Been frustrated with you?
No, just in general. I think it reminded me. I feel because like I don't know. Yeah, because I think a lot of people get over it playing with me. I feel because a lot of time when we play games together, and I'm with the team, we always lose a lot more because I'm like more casual of the game, like Valorant as well. And I feel bad. I wish I was like,
I really lose when we play with you that much in Valorant, to be honest.
yeah, I like to think that too.
Well, we don't. I'm just being honest. We don't really lose that much when we play with you in Valorant. Look, can I show you a funny image?
Yeah, sure. I think it's because what makes me say that is I think it's because people get irritated of how casual I am. I feel that's another thing.
I get annoyed sometimes, but at the end of the day, I really don't care personally. Like, that's just how you play the game.
It's the best way to enjoy it.
Where I realize that you don't need to be taught stuff. You don't need to be told about stuff.
I mean, if I need to like learn stuff in order to win games, then I need to. Connoisseur.
Sometimes.
I mean, yeah, because I feel like me being less knowledge of games, I feel that's technically a throw. If you're playing games and you don't know what you're doing, but you're still playing it. I don't know. Good luck, have fun.
Why did you side-eye me, bro?
When it comes to
Why are you all the way
when it
back
comes
there,
to
bro?
knowledge of
What?
games and stuff, outside of knowing how to shoot the gun and how to look at the person, doesn't matter. I know absolutely nothing about anything in 90% of the games I play.
That's me as well.
A lie. You know how to get money in
CSGO. And that's a huge accomplishment as well because you can make money from doing that, and that's a huge thing. So that's a massive advantage. We don't make money when playing Overwatch. I mean, I do sometimes, but like not consistently. But you can do that though, which is huge. I think it's because I keep getting told that in the past when I used to play Overwatch a lot with different people in different groups, how they say like take the game a bit more seriously because there's unfair people around you who want to win. That's what they say.
I mean, as long as you're putting out as long as you're putting out decent performances.
That is, well, define decent because I try my best, but that best is probably not enough to win games, I feel. And people get really into it as well. Like, I don't think I've ever gone over 2,000 healing at all as being a supporter.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah?
I'm always getting over 2,000 healing.
That's good.
Playing healer.
Yeah, exactly.
Literal ever, and it's like my main thing in every single game.
Yeah, and your main goal is to blow up and act like nobody got nobody. Wait, and act like you don't got nobody? Is that what's cool?
Exactly.
Act like you don't own nobody? It's on second point, by the way.
Damn, girl, that jacket is so high!
Why did you grab me?
Wait.
Why did you grab me?
Ah, Sigma. I mean, what's his name? Malga? Yeah, Malga.
That's my bad. I'm so sorry.
I mean, look at your image, Z. That's funny.
I thought you were gonna get altered by the
Yeah.
mirror.
I can burrow. I'm a mole.
Yeah, but like, why can't I just kidnap you instead?
Because I'm a mole and I like the dirt.
Are you the same mole from the Smiling Friends?
Yes.
Oh. At least you had a happy ending, though. I got ult.
Oh wow.
What was to grab that time? Come on.
Alright.
No, you seem ungrateful for my grabs. So you don't get them.
I'm gonna play Solga.
Are we going to go in?
Yeah.
Who wants to get nanoed?
Me, Me. Wait.
What the fuck, dude?
That wasn't me, bitch.
No, dude. People can walk in front of me. Yeah. My bad.
That's okay. I your teammate.
Wee.
I love when the new character can go invincible 3 times and also can't be hit normally. That's epic.
Oh no, it depends on what kind of battle pass they have, because it depends how much you're paying for per month. You have hidden abilities that no one knows about. So they're probably paying like $35, I'm pretty sure, for exclusive stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Well, can you stop throwing, please?
How much am I healing? 160! How do you heal?
Shoot people.
I have been, but nothing's happening.
Shoot them when they're hurt.
I have been.
Oh no.
I died from the dragon.
Proof of this statement.
What do you mean, sorry?
Ooh, that's a
Oh, headshot too. Good job, bro. Get around. Played well. That was good. Maybe not Ana. Brigida? Because if you're doing melee stuff with Brigida, you get damage, right?
Healing and damage.
I'm a bit low-key icky about Brigida though, that's my only issue. Ah. Hey man, how are ya? What's up?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday, bro.
It's this guy's birthday right here.
Happy birthday! I didn't know it was your birthday today. Happy birthday, DM.
I like the theme.
Have a good happy birthday today, dude. Is this his birthday today?
Yeah, it is. It's MPT's birthday today.
It's not.
Oh no, I talk about the other guy.
No, yeah, it is the other guy's birthday today. Who's the other guy?
I don't know. Oh my god. Dude, that was crazy headshot. Thank you, Z.
No DPS.
What do you mean?
I'm just finishing everyone.
Good job, dude. Cool.
I chose the wrong perk though.
I feel like Wu Yang should be able to extinguish any fire put on anyone.
Yeah.
What about Amaterasu? That's a real question. So I have to hit you guys in order to get you healing?
No, you have to hit the enemy and you
Ah.
get healing on the teammate.
Oh. Well, I tried hitting the guy and I got killed. On my way. No. Where's this person?
Go beat that bitch up, Sniffer.
Yeah.
Get her.
Nah.
Oh, she just ulted. She just ulted to try and kill you and you just won.
I don't care. It's fine. As long as you're okay. No! Haha. Yay! Yeah, cool. Good job. Yay! Yay! I might back off maybe, just in case. That's alright. We're here.
I love when the new character is unkillable.
Wait, that was a pretty res.
Yeah, good job.
I slow-mo rest. That Guys, I know Spinjitzu.
Oh my god, Llama is playing a thing called VALORANT Tracker app.
You might know Spinjitzu. Well, or Div.
Dude.
No, I need to. There's a setting I can change where I can actually do it, but I can't remember. It's like in the Mercy controls. When you swap, you need to change it so when you swap to her gun, your fucking screen goes crazy. Wait.
Oh my god. Looks very cool, bro. Yeah, Z, do you know what a thing called VALORANT Tracker app? Do you know what that is?
Yeah. Why? What's up?
Llama's playing it right now. It looks like she's playing like a tracking kind of game.
It's literally, it's just an extension for Valorant. So
Ah.
you can see stats, lineup, and shit like that. It really helps, and you can see people's ranks and everything.
So Llama's doing competitive 3-0, so she's winning so far in the game.
I love the new character that's unkillable and does 7 billion damage.
Only 7 billion? That's it?
Wait, I need to. I really don't know what the setting is, because I swear it's
Wow.
real.
Mm-hmm. Is he throwing?
I'm not throwing. I'm trying to figure out the setting.
Which setting is
Get
it?
that res off.
Oh, damn it. Oh, I got the Hanzo.
Wait, pop off. Oh my god, wait. Hook! Hook! Hook!
What's up? Wow. Oh, hello.
No, pick me!
Yeah. Alright, let's go. Anyway, thank you. We should get rid of the thing, by the way, too.
Make Keisha come here.
Keisha? Who's Keisha? Wow. What does that do? Yay. Haha, I still killed him. Nice, nice. Oh shit! Guys, I'm about to beat my healing score.
Proud of you, Hook.
Thank you, man.
I am on fire. Everyone follow me.
Wait, do I have
I need you to come here.
do I have enough to play comp after this? Zay!
Where the fuck is everyone?
No, we're here, we're here. Hans over there. He was there, he was there. Nice, nice. Yay! Oh, so close! That's fine.
Actually, thank you for nanoing me. I didn't even realize.
No, it's okay. I just yelled out your name and that's it.
I remember asking before and you didn't.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even know you asked me. I'm so sorry, dude.
No, it's because I was like, you were like, who wants nano? And I was like,
Yo, that's right. Yeah, because but some bitch stood in front of me and was like, "You know."
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, wrong person. Nice, good job, MP.
I hate this character. So boring.
No, I love Makisha.
Makisha.
I want my Doom Fist back now.
That's how I feel with Roadhog. I feel like I enjoy games with Roadhog more, but it makes it hard because I lose more games when I play Roadhog. Malgus here, Malgus here. They're all here, they're all here, they're all here. Oh my god, I walked right into... How'd you get a headshot? That's so funny.
Wait, yeah, how did he headshot?
No, it was funny. It was no. I think it's because they landed directly on top of my head as they as they threw down hams. You know.
Threw down hams.
Yeah.
I love going down hams.
Yeah.
It's just on point.
I'm on my way now. Do I wait or? Get res, get res. I died. Okay, now I'm on my way back in. Yay! Oh.
Oh my god, Hook Sniffer, you are my god.
That's all good. Go, 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 go.
I can't get in there!
That's fine, dude. GG's, well played.
Fight me, bitch! Fight me!
That was fun. I guess. Not really.
I get 7 kills.
GG's, guys. We played well.
This is where Div killed me.
Oh, really? Oh my god, yeah, I was panicking.
No, why would I ever do that? I'm
That's
nice.
so funny.
I'm so nice and stuff. I wouldn't do that to you, silly.
Benching out, complete 15 games, there's 90 top 3.
What did you just say to me?
Yeah, I didn't hear either.
I think he called me a slur.
I think he did. Wait, so is Russ been coming back or?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Oh, good. Ah. Are we able to play comp?
I don't know.
Let's do it all. It'll be funny.
It'll be a wide match.
Ah.
Low rank and everything, I think.
I'm low rank as well.
Yeah, I'm silver DPS.
I'm silver 3. Actually, no. Actually, no. I won't be tank. I won't be tank.
I'm gonna beat you all up, though. Yay!
Do it. End it already.
Whoa, I can't believe you'd say that to me.
Okay, let's try this again.
You need to get better stickers and gifts, Ampute.
What are you talking about?
You need to get better gifts and stuff. Yours are so boring. You're in the same one.
Ah! If you want me to make you any stickers and gifts, just let me know. I can make you some, bro.
No, I mean I've got.
He just isn't cultured. Hi.
Ah! What? Oh, come on. Bro! I learned Valorant. Why did I not get that kill?
Wait, how am I not? Oh.
Hmm?
Oh fuck nah, get your bitch ass away from me.
Where'd you go?
You ain't touching me, bitch.
Whoa! Almost got you, bro. Almost got jobless rack. Whee! Oh, so close. Whoa! Oh my god.
Easy.
Easiest 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. Nice.
Are you that widow? I saw that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get better accuracy, but it's not really working out very well. Fuck! Do you mean to do that?
That's my fucking kill.
Bro, I got -1 in deathmatch. I hear action, but I don't see the action. Don't worry. Indra? That's a Naruto thing.
I hacked her for you so she can't kill you.
No one can farm. Oh my god. My name is Deez. Okay, I reckon after 5 minutes we'll go back to quick play, I feel. Indra left. Nice! On my first kill. We. No! Yeah! Oh my god, nice.
Oh, you're a little fucking fun.
How long did it get you?
I'm gonna call you some very bad words in a second.
Time to teach these birds.
Oh, hello. Nice. I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
Really think you can beat me in a mirror match, Div?
Please,
Get
Div.
out of here. You can find me.
I left everything I own in one piece.
Right.
Oh, you can't even find me.
I'm trying to find the Hanzo.
You just can't find me still.
I looked at you.
Hey, Hook Sniffer.
Hey, man. Oh, that's who you are! I was trying to, like, take down the vendetta. Oh my god.
Oh, that's embarrassing, I'm not gonna lie.
Why can she use it in the air?
Oh,
I have to, sorry.
Why you right?
what does that mean?
Nice. Job was racked with the game.
That's embarrassing. That's
You're
embarrassing.
Oh, don't tell me you fell for the rage.
Whoa!
Break.
Oh my god. Yeah, we won't be finding a game anytime soon, I don't think. Wow. Do you guys want to go quick play?
I don't mind.
Yep. Z? What?
I'm just gonna annoy the fuck out of this dude real quick.
Alright, let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Can't believe you fell off the map.
Alright, BJ, if you felt that.
Oh, you were huge.
Oh my god, got you, Z.
Hey, Keisha's coming to fuck you up, bro.
It's getting interesting.
Whoa, okay. Hey, Z.
Oh, no, that's me.
Oh, hey, man, how are you?
Hi.
No! Come
Why did she go right?
No idea. Are we ready to go quick play or?
Bro, if you wanna fuck. It's fucking on, bitch. didn't have any of my cooldowns, you had all of them. I'm fucking up.
Wow. B. Are we all good to go to quick play?
I'm ready. It's up to you. Div.
Z?
This bitch is just watching me! Get away from me!
Nice.
Oh my god, why are you being a fan of me?
No one can hide from my sight.
Look, I said I don't mind what we do.
Oh, dude, your microphone's a bit low, so I can barely even hear you. Sorry, dude. Alright, let's leave. Yeah, I have a feeling we're not gonna find a game, eh? I have a feeling we're not gonna find anything.
That's you, Div.
Do. Deathmatch.
This is you, bruh. This shit is you, bruh. GG's.
Bruh. GG's, bro.
Come find me, Div.
Nah.
Come find me.
I don't like looking for gay people, so.
Jesus.
Or what everyone calls queers.
Oh yeah, it'd be like that.
Come on, Div.
Why? No. I'm not coming towards the gayness.
Come and fight me, Div. Come and fight me.
What even is that I'm seeing? No! What the, oh my god. Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm hearing something. Ash!
Oh, I knew you would be desperate!
Oh my god. What even are you guys? Z, I'm here. Nice.
Take that, bitch. Haha, you thought you were gonna catch me.
They just threw themselves off the map.
Huh?
They're the one who threw themselves off the map.
Who's the one that was chasing me?
Oh my god. Mango theory.
That's tough.
Hey, found a game. It's very hot in my room. Okay. I guess the fan is not going to work out for me.
I love sending these gay pride ones. They're fucking funny as fuck.
You should send them in June.
Are you saying I shouldn't be prideful in June?
I
know
know.
exactly why you're saying this.
I'm healer again. Fuck healing. Healing sucks. I mean mercy. Good luck, have fun. I hope we all play well.
This is you as a cat.
Let's see how many kills I get with the Glock.
It will make peace so much easier.
You going okay, Amputator? Oh my god.
Because I'm saying bad stuff about him in DMs.
Ah.
I'm seeing it now.
Oh my god.
I called him a gay cat.
It'd be like that.
Hmm?
Was my bedtime like 2 hours ago?
Oh, someone's EP. EP.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Wow, what the hell? What? Who's over here? Ah, thank you. That was like 5 feet. What a pull.
Yeah, but the point of the pull is to make you invulnerable for those.
Oh, Naruto Donaire. I died.
Why'd you call me a hoe?
Naruto Donaire.
Look, why'd you call me a hoe? That's really mean.
I said Naruto Donaire.
Yeah, you called me a hoe.
I said Naruto
That affects
Donaire.
my feelings.
Naruto Donaire. That's a very short terminology. What?
Someone reversed earlier. And domed him again.
Who? Oh, Thom Tom.
And our teammates are the same teammates we have.
Baby no money, da 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 da. Baby no money, ra da 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 da. Baby no money, ra da 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 da. Tong Sahora. Oh my god.
Why is this vendetta on me?
That was definitely play the game right there. What the fuck?
Oh well. Maybe one of us can change that.
I will.
I reckon we can do it.
I'll never up.
If they push any further, we'll lose our lead.
Ah! There you go. She's almost dead. Oh, watch out, watch out. Oh my god. Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Oh my god, okay,
like I
game.
said, does not matter if someone did good, we've got that. Better call Saul. No! There we go. No! Oh shit! Oh god, oh god! I knew it. I knew I was gonna die there, that's fine.
How did you pull me? I was full health.
You had out of position.
Healthy body, healthy mind.
Now position.
Oh, hang on, hang on. Yeah. Oh, what the frick? Thank you.
Please help me.
No, hang on. No.
Pulled the wrong person, that's my bad.
That's fun, dude. No! Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my god. Tong, 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 hora. Nice, good job. Nice, nice. I can't res. I'm sorry, dude.
That's okay, my tree's still alive.
Oh my god, that was intense. Nice, good job.
The robot is pushing the barricade.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Whoa. Whoa. We're winning so far, so it's good. Someone be able to please piggyback me, please?
Why did you grab me?
Because I felt like it. You got an issue?
Yes.
Too bad.
On my way, on my way.
I'll grab whoever I want.
There we go.
That's how you catch a case.
What? He's not wrong, to be honest.
I'm grabbing people in life fever. My bad.
No, 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 no. No, brother. That's alright. Oh, nice, dude. Good job. Come back, come back. No.
You can res that.
I can't. I got nothing on me.
What do you mean?
I already rezzed already. Wee.
He's lying, by the way. He definitely had res.
Wee. Oh, thank you. No, they got nanoed, bro. Kill him, not me. Kill him, not me. Kill him, not me. Oh, we dead ass. Doyo imidayo.
I know why your back hurts.
Cause you're unk.
Yeah, it's because you're really old and frail.
No, it's because I'm getting back shots from Vendetta all the time.
Wait, I'm confused. Oh my god. Ladies and gentlemen, my latest in creation. Ugh.
What the fuck? I don't. It's not normal that a character can pretty much one-shot you.
Yeah, some characters can one-shot you. Roadhog used to one-shot people all the time. Zaya.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so normally.
Yeah, it's.
Roadhog actually has a cooldown for it, but then Vendettas, it just all the time.
Once again, it all depends on who's the player, who's controlling the character, and what they can exploit.
Not really with Vendetta. It's.
I think it's all characters.
Some characters are literally just inherently busted as fuck.
I think it's just the player, I feel. I reckon Z, you can't get much of those kind of kills, I reckon, because you don't have much experience on Vendetta. So it depends on the actual character. And that's what I'm saying though. If you learn to play the character, it'll be busted for you as well, because you know how to play the character.
Yeah, but my point is the character just shouldn't be that busted.
That is true, but my point is I reckon every hero in this game can be overpowered with what they can do with their abilities. Like Amputate, for example. Venture's been out of the actual amount of things that they can do in the meta, but they just did this. That's massive. Good job, Amputate.
I don't believe what you're saying, but you know, we all have our rights to an opinion.
Exactly, yeah, that's fine. I don't care if you don't believe me. I'm just saying what I believe in. Yay, I got 698 gold, which is nothing. Are we all good to keep playing?
Yeah.
Let us know if you guys want to play
Unless
Valorant.
it's somebody's bedtime.
Yeah, actually, you said before you're tired. Do you want to head off now, amputate?
No, I'm fine.
Do you have stuff to go do tomorrow?
He's lying to
I've got
you.
work at
He's
12,
so
but
tired.
I still got over 12 hours I can sleep.
Did you want to get me catch up some sleep if you can? No one's forcing you to stay up. Oh good.
I slept in today, so.
Oh good.
Oh, Hook, do you just not want to play with Amputate? That's so rude of you.
That's
I mean, that's an obvious
Yeah, that
thing.
is really mean, Hook.
Who told you that
I
information?
think you should be nice. Why don't you want to spend time with your community members?
I love how I cough as soon as he said that. What the fuck am I looking at? Oh, I'm healer again. Can we play Valorant? I'm not even kidding. I'm actually playing healing.
But I'm on tank, so everything is okay with the world.
Oh, okay. Alright, Jungle City or Samoa, please. I beg. No, Ilioso.
Yes.
No, I'm getting AP.
Is someone sleepy?
Yeah, you are. You're very sleepy, aren't you?
Choose a tank for me to play.
Roadhog. I know it's called a Horus, Mummy, Nightcrawler, Captain Murray, Blue Lotus. What?
I remember someone called me Mummy because that's what my old account was called. It was funny as fuck.
Oh my god.
Choose a different tank. I'll play Hog on Well.
Hog works okay on this.
But Well Hog's funny.
I reckon Reinhardt then.
I can actually play this guy.
Sigma.
Yeah, actually, yeah, play Sigma as well.
You should play Sigma.
After I die, I'll swap.
No,
What?
you gotta swap now, otherwise we'll lose. Trust me.
I didn't know Frauns was in this game.
Oh, it's stomped him.
If I get hooked by that motherfucker.
Haha, nice.
Okay. Game is literally asking me to be a DPS at the moment.
It'd be like that. Ah. No! Why'd you die, Amputate?
Because,
We.
I don't know. There's a Brig who's got 27 damage and healing. Come on.
Ah.
Why does the Brig have no damage? What's up with that?
I'm getting fucked up constantly.
Yeah, so you swing your mace and you heal.
I don't need you to mansplain Brig to me when you haven't played support a day in your life.
That's just not true.
No, I slapped the wall. Why I slapped the wall? Nice, good kill, good kill.
I'll have you know, Div. Someone said I was a diamond support in Overwatch 1 one time.
Overwatch 1, what, like...
Like the ones coming out or the one before?
Like, the first Overwatch before this one came out.
Nice. Good job, Z. Guy here, guy here, guy here. Nah, nah.
Thank you for supporting me, Hook.
With which part?
The whole thing. You literally anti-nated that guy.
It'd be like that. No, why would you support your fucking bubble? Why would you bubble that? Fucking asshole. You don't do that to your teammates, bro. I'm gonna report them for doing
I'm gonna kill myself in real life. Oh my god.
That's fine.
I just ulted and died.
No way. That's so funny. Poor Z.
hateful things to say to that, Lucio.
What is that? Smilology.
Why can Lucio beat mid-air?
I mean, why not? Because he believes he can fly.
I believe I can fly.
Oh my god, time bomb, good job. Hang on, just realized.
Why the fuck do I have
Good round, guys, good round.
DPS.
Counter swapping doesn't work on me, Dim.
Here's another tank.
Roadhog.
Not hog, hogs for well.
Roadhog.
Okay, we go Roadhog.
I will be Mercy and I'll pocket you. You hook them and I'll cook them. You hook them towards yourself and I'll shoot them with my pistol. How do you guys feel about the praise emote that's going to be happening in Overwatch?
We love praise in this household.
Use voice comms and say it yourself and not be lazy.
It's just easier.
No, it's not. Unmute yourself and say, hey, good job, boys. We did well. Not that hard. It's so easy just to like unmute
I mean,
mic.
it's easier for some people and some people. No shade. In communities like this, there are literally so many people that will be homophobic sexist based off of just voice, and it's so much easier for people to just do it that way rather than just comment.
Oh, I agree, yeah. I think Valorant's pretty much like that too as well. Some pretty bad stuff happens in Valorant.
It's worse. Overwatch is probably one of the better ones.
Yeah. Yay! Roadhog looks weird. How come he's got a giant fist? If I knew you were going to be Doomfist, I was not going to res you. FYI. No.
Why the fuck do I have this tank sitting on me, bro?
That's fine, dude.
Oh my god, look, Sniffer, you are my actual goat.
Yay! Massive dead. Oh, no, I died. Alucard started playing Overwatch. That is vinyl. Z, why'd you die?
I don't know why. I'm doing better than our DPS.
Good job.
I don't know why I died. People are bullying me.
It'd be like that.
So, I'm emo now.
No! No! Huge. What the fuck was that? Yeah, but what was it though? What'd you even say?
He said, I don't like gay people.
Pretty much.
I think it's kind of disappointing that I'm doing better than our DPS.
It's okay, it's only a quick play. Wow! Oh my god, I flew right into that. That's crazy. Alright, behind you, Z.
What did you do?
Just needed 3 people to kill me.
Why?
Because they're bad.
Wow. No, oh my god. Well, they were. That's fine. Whee! Okay, we're okay.
Heroes never die.
You'll be a really cool thing. Holy shit, imagine they did this. For an event, all the characters cosplay as their opposites. Hey Mantis, how are you, Mantis? I reckon that'll be really cool. I don't know how they'll do it though. Welcome to the stream, Mantis. How are you, dude? Hope you're doing well, Mantis. Die, 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 die. Yeah, buddy. Good job, good job. Dude, oh my god. I swung to you. Nice. DJ. Watch is reinstalled. I'm ready for Mizuki. Nice. Mantis going to be playing a character called Mizuki.
You're
GG.
actually messed up for that.
GG. Well played. GG, well played. We all played well. Oh, nice. Good job, bro. You got that again. You got to play the game again, bro. Alright, what are we reading here?
I said some very bad stuff.
What? Why can't I see it? Why can't I see it? Bro, that's bullshit.
They said,
fuck yourself.
Funny thing. Yeah.
How funny thing how shit you are. That's so funny. That's so petty.
Funny thing is, every time they've been on our team, they've done next to nothing.
It's okay. It's only quick play.
So mean of you.
Not that deep. Only quick play.
Oh my god, Cassidy's. I mean, wait.
Are we all good to keep playing, or you want to head off?
Meow meow.
What's game chat saying? Oh, they're saying like fuck yourself and you're a shit player. That's kind of funny. Are we all good to keep playing, or? Let us know when you're ready to head off, by the way, guys. Actually, no. Hang on. I'm over it.
Huh?
I'm not being support anymore. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't be support. No one be support. I've watched a few videos of Mizuki and I've already had my control laid out planned. Dude's ready for Mizuki. Holy shit, Mantis. Why you like Suzuki so much, Mantis? That's the reason why, Mantis. They're like a Talon bad guy supporter. The hat drip is peak. The hat is pretty cool. Good job. Nice, good job. I headshot you too, Z. I'm so sorry. Every time I see that character, I think of the Mortal Kombat character. No! Ah! Same reason I liked Kiri and the same layout. Oh, nice, dude. Gotcha. I think I get an idea. New ranged melee character. That is true. Nice. How's it going with your stream, by the way, Mantis?
You idiot.
Are you able to like see the stream properly now on your phone, Mantis? Remember last time you had issues looking at it. Yay! Yeah. Oh, you're good now? Nice. Ah! I'm happy to hear, Mantis. That's good. I think it might have just been Valorant. Really? Wow. That's a bit interesting.
Oh, come on. How petty can you be?
That'd be play though. Thank you, man. I'm just playing the game. Fuck. How's your day today, Mantis? What'd you get up to today, Mantis?
Aha, you just got diff.
That's not how a diff works.
I don't care that you got diff anyway.
Ah, hee. Bachelor of Science. It was good. Yeah, that's good. What'd you get up to today? Good hook. Ah! Ah, nice. Got an offer accepted. What'd you get accepted, Mantis? What kind of offer?
Come on, Cole. Try a little harder.
Oh, don't be mad.
Ah,
This is gonna be easy. Come on.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm gonna counter swap you until you rage quit.
Mama Bird and Grub left the game.
To Sombra.
Huh?
Of course you go into Sombra.
We sold our house a while back, and now we got a place to go now. That's awesome, Mantis. You and your family have now got a new house to go to. That's awesome.
And of course you swapped to Ash. Haha, haha.
And you guys downsized, didn't you, as well, Mantis?
Swapping to May.
Hee. Well, that was the plan. Oh, so did you downsize it all then, or? No, we. Yeah. Haha.
Why are you lying?
What does that mean, Mantis? 30 square meters. I never learned measurements in high school. The house isn't smaller. Oh, isn't much smaller. Ah, I got you. King's Row. Let's get a team chat and try and see if we can annoy some people.
I know how to annoy people.
Get for it, Enzi.
Give me a second.
At least you guys are happy with your house, though. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer has a very shiny nose. I'm up the road. Oh my god, no way.
I love the Celestial Adventure skin. It's very clean.
Good luck, have fun, guys. Hope we all play well. Give us a look, the Adventure skin. Where is it? Where's the Adventure skin? The Celestial. Where is it? Where is it?
They say work smarter, not harder, but why not do both?
There's a _HE:CALL here. Excuse me? I'm gonna get distracted by all the meowing. Z, just copy and paste it. Copy and paste the Z. And every time someone dies, just copy and paste it and paste it in. Like that, yeah. Oh my god, Z.
Pick up a Sombra.
Nice, dude.
Stop lying.
Oh, no way, bro. I felt the force in that. No, imagine I got that. Being assaulting people with the throwing knives. Oh, nice, dude. Oh my god, imagine if I got that. Damn. It'd be crazy if I got that. No, imagine. Damn. The Sombra.
I'm not doing damage this time.
That's okay, dude. Nothing wrong with that.
And I killed DPS.
What? The team deathmatch game today had double the amount of kills the enemy team has. Nice, dude. Good job, Mantis. You should be very proud of yourself, dude. Some kind of cooked. That's awesome, Mantis. Is this a Black Ops 7? No, they're almost dead. I'm at 160p. What does that mean, Mantis? Why are you still bugging out? I don't know, Mantis. You tell me. Hack completed. Where are they? Where'd they go? Oh my god, if only. That. Really? Oh, so close. Nice. Good job. Good job. Oh, why'd you push them out of the way, bro? What's wrong with you? Why'd you do that?
I'm sorry.
That's fine, dude. Nice. Are you all good? Alright. Oh, okay. Right by Z.
What?
You're up there. I don't know what you're doing, but I was like, okay. Hello there. No, I still didn't kill them. I'm so sorry, dude. Hee.
Okay.
That's okay. That's alright. Look, if you're not working any day of the week, you should play. We should play Overwatch together. Yeah, we should, bro. We should. Yeah, definitely. Depends what day I feel. Keep my ball on me. Oh, nice, dude. No, bro. It's so close. Yeah, I get you. I get what you meant by the reference. Wee.
Look, you're talking in game chat and
Oh, sorry, dude. Sorry, dude. Sorry if it sounded like I was echoing.
all good, but I just feel like it might be.
Sometimes do that all the time by mistake. My ladies and gentlemen, my latest adventure. Well, depending on day, I'll be aura farming a Mizuki. I mean, honestly, depends, yeah.
Massive deja vu.
Which part?
That entire last fight then is just all deja vu for me.
There's deja vu, and there's deja vu.
Like, the ult into me doing like the up dash from burrow into diving. Like, I swear I've seen the exact sequence before.
Are you trying to say that you've been playing these games before?
I'm trying to say I think I had a vision.
I'm sorry if you're lost, dude. Speaking of Dream Day, we should come for lunch with Mama Hawk and we can play some on new season. I mean, maybe. It depends on Mama Hook, dude, as well. Mama Hook's very restricted what she can do. Plus, Mama Hook doesn't drive. It's Papa Hook that does the driving, too. Sombra in front. No. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it depends, I feel. No, so close. Nice.
I've been getting 0 fucking heals from this Mercy.
That's okay, dude. We won the game. Did you play? Yeah, it's all good, man. It's just, it'll be nice to hang out, but it depends on the day, dude. Nice, amputate.
What? This got play?
Nice, dude. Good job, dude.
I didn't do anything.
That's okay, dude. It's not Tuesday this week. That's honestly, that's me as well. That's all good, Z. That's all good, Z. Oh my god. What? Sorry, what?
I'm gonna wind down a little bit before bed.
That's all good, dude. That's all good. Z just left the call and everything.
What the hell?
Hey, Charcoal, how are you, bro? Have you doing co-working stuff upstairs? Oh, that's all good, bro. I feel like I want to head off too because I'm quite tired, and I mean, I'm keen to play. Oh, Z and Amputate were gone, and I was like mid talking as well. Apparently, so yeah. I mean, I was keen to play some Valorant for a meme. But I don't know what to do. I guess it might be a sign to end stream, I feel, then. If that's the case. Who is streaming right now? Hey, Mantis, how you going, bro? Hey, man. No, oh, Irene's streaming right now. Let's rate Irene.
Let's go rate. Oh, wait, my Twitch crashed. Give me a second.
Okay, 1. Alright, Mantis, you back? Oh my god, Irene's playing Resident Evil 2. That's so funny.
Ooh.
Alright, let's rate off to Irene. Alright, I'm heading off. I don't know what I'm going to stream next, but I want to focus on uploading more my Nier Let's Play. And, yeah, I hope we all have a good...
How many episodes does it look like that's going to be, Hook?
More than likely around 34 maybe, because I still haven't done... There's a massive part that I've not yet done yet. It's a big series. It's a massive game. I think I need to farm while not recording so I can be a little bit better at
Elden Ring playthrough next.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I would actually play Elden Ring. I'm not even kidding. Just for a meme, I would honestly...
Actually, yeah, something I did want to talk to you about when that video dropped and stream kind of shit itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try to mix in the two if you still want to do your playthroughs.
Oh, that's the whole idea. I want to
So, like,
I just want to like play games and just like maybe off stream do stuff maybe.
Yeah, I also do very strongly want to push that you should do the Dead Space remake playthrough again.
I missed Dead Space, yeah.
That.
Yeah. That was very funny. I think Dead Space made it fun because chat was making it fun because we had like what do you call it? What's the word called? We had a lot of sound bars with it and made it really funny and really ridiculous. I think that's what made Dead Space so fun. Because Tez and Zom and Lochi were going crazy about it. That's okay, dude. Oh, great. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah.